Hi everyone, my name is Usman Sajid, and today my group and I will be evaluating ExxonMobil Limited via leadership and ethical dilemmas. Now, as we move into the presentation today, first off, we're going to establish the background of ExxonMobil Limited, its CEO, Sir Darren Woods, the difference between managers and leaders, the ethical dilemma ExxonMobil Limited faced, and followed by the theoretical underpin and conclusions, of course. Now, if you talk about ExxonMobil Limited, it is the market leader today in the oil and gas sector. Starting off of over 100 odd years ago, ExxonMobil Limited has a market capitalization of $400 billion and still counting. Now, if you talk about the brands under Limited's umbrella, brands like Esso, ExxonMobil, XTO Energy, all fall under the same community of ExxonMobil. The products they develop are not limited to fuel and lubricants, but also chemicals used in the medical industry, electronics, clothing, capsules, tires, and so on and so forth. There are several competitors in this market for ExxonMobil Limited, namely BP, Shell, Conco, Chevron, and a lot more that operate in the Asian world, in the European world, and Canada, US, because ExxonMobil is pretty much all around the globe, serving people and nations all over. Now we're going to talk about Sir Darren Woods, the current CEO of ExxonMobil Limited. Sir Darren Woods, being born in 1965 in Wichita, had his last education from Northwestern Kellogg's College in Illinois. Then in 1992, Sir Woods became a part of ExxonMobil Limited as a practicing analyst. And from there on, he's been promoted to different departments up until 2017, where he was finally made the CEO. So he had a very strong foundation and the experience in a lot of different departments of ExxonMobil Limited. The one of the milestones that we consider Sir Woods achieved were that he urged President Trump during his tenure to be a part of the Paris Climate Accord in 2017. That was to make the world an environmentally friendly place and limit the, like just make the world a better place and control the pollution and all of that. Now, moving forward, if we talk about how the employees and how the co-workers see Sir Woods, is that he's got a rating of 205 and he's highly regarded by Hispanic, Latino, female employees, and even the people in its IT department. However, in the Asian side of the world, people do not see upon him as of a great leader because they're unable to progress despite giving 6 or 10 years of their life. They still have not seen progress in the hierarchy for themselves. Now, moving forward, we're going to establish the difference between a manager and the leader. Leader is someone who sees the company in the future, not just 1 or 2 years down the road, but in the near future as to how the company wishes to provide to the community and what is basically the main mission of the company. The leader basically motivates and influence the people. And as for the managers, they basically follow the path that is set by the leader. Managers basically control all the employees and make them drive onto the path that is set by the leaders themselves. And hence we say that leaders create visions, managers execute the vision, leaders create change, managers react to change, leaders pilot people, and managers manage people. So moving on from here, I would ask my colleague Trisha to take over the presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you, Usman. Hello, everyone. This is Trisa here. I'll be talking about the ethical dilemma of ExxonMobil. So, what is ethical dilemma? Ethical dilemma are all about the difficulty in choosing between the two extreme course of action, where either of the choices involves disobeying a moral principle. Say, for instance, if you are facing an ethical dilemma, you will be very affected emotionally as you may struggle between what to consider to be right against what is considered to be necessary for certain situation. So we will be looking into the ethical dilemma of ExxonMobil. In March 2020, the CEO, the Darwin Woods, dismissed the oil and the gas company's emission intensity targets and disinvestment of fossil fuel assets. So the ExxonMobil has decided to get the carbon intensity targets rather than the scope 3 emission reduction plans. So what is scope 3 emission? Scope 3 is otherwise known as the supply chain emission. For example, scope 3 emissions can include emissions from the company's products, such as the gasoline and other fossil fuels. According to Darren Woods, tracking such scope 3 greenhouse gases makes it a sense for measuring as a whole, which is a global progress. But there is no point in the downside at the company's level. For instance, if ExxonMobil has a scope 3 reduction target, the company would produce less natural gas, and some other company would produce more coal, which would increase the global carbon emission as a whole. So he argues that instead of investing in scope 3 gas emissions, there must be investments made in gas terminals, the wells, chemical plants, which would actually bumper the profits. According to Darwin, the problem is not, it is basically the problem statement is reducing emissions and not getting rid of oil and gas. So the companies can invest in carbon capture and storage as an important aspect of emission reduction for those who want to decarbonize the industry. So to capture this emissions without even worrying about the economies and without destroying or disturbing the investment process of the company. But many capital activists and environmental groups have been pushing the oil and gas companies like ExxonMobil to take more aggressive actions to address the various laws and regarding the scope 3 emissions. So ExxonMobil has already been in a very intense scrutiny from activists and various law enforcements. So in order to achieve the ExxonMobil's company's objectives, the Darren Woods has taken decision across to focus on the low carbon projects, to focus more on the emission reduction instead of the scope 3 emission. So let's have a look at the Darwin Woods approaches to reduce the emission reduction targets. So yeah, the approaches. The ExxonMobil plans to achieve a net zero carbon emission from its operation 2050, and by 2030 a net zero emission from its oil and gas production. And ExxonMobil has designated nearly $17 billion for low carbon projects to 2027. Also, by law, companies are required to follow scope 1 and scope 2 of emissions. The greenhouse gases is basically consist of three different scopes. As I mentioned earlier, the Darren found out that the scope 3 will eventually be a drawback, as it results in reducing the gas emissions in a company's supply chain, which will eventually increase the overall gas emission globally. So these are some of the plans planned by Darwin, but there were a lot of criticisms for this plan. Some shareholders and activists had to argue that the failure to address the scope 3 emissions could lead to reputational damage and financial losses for the companies like ExxonMobil. But the plan by Darwin waves a lot towards meeting its and aligning its company's objectives. That is basically to grow and strengthen their low carbon solution business. They expect to double earnings and cash flow potential by 2027 and versus 2019, and this supports the company's strategic priorities in terms of industry safety, the shareholder returns, the cash flow growth, etc. Therefore, the plan made by Darwin aligns with the company's objective, and to provide the main objective is to provide a premium petroleum and chemical manufacturing company. So this aligns with their company's objectives. So to speak more about the types of leadership and Darwin Woods leadership styles, I'm handing over to my teammate Yashan.
Thank you, Trisha. My name is Mario, and I'm here to talk about the theoretical underpin, which would focus on the different leadership styles that's been used by different international leaders, very specifically Mr. Darren Woods, who's the current CEO of ExxonMobil. And in terms of analyzing his leadership style, we need to use mainly four different leadership theories, starting off with contingency leadership theory, situational leadership theory, and the Cates skills leadership approach, and finally the transformational leadership theory. In terms of contingency leadership theory, which focuses on the leadership styles and the situation at hand, and how the leader effectively handles or manage these his leadership styles to face the situation at hand is known as the contingency leadership theory. And when you talk about situational leadership theory, it mainly has two main approaches, which is the directing approach and the supporting approach. Higher the directiveness given by the leader, it gives less power for the employees to make the decisions on their own. Higher the support given by the leader, it gives more authority, more power to the employees to make decisions on their own. But this creates four different situations, which is directiveness, coaching, supporting, and delegating. When talking about the transformational leadership theory, it focuses on how a leader makes a situation or makes an impact, a positive impact to a larger number of people in the society to make a change that would affect the long run. So in this, Darren Woods have actually been ranked as the second most transformational leader in the year 2018. Second only to the CEO of Walmart. And this is because of his approach that he took to convert and transform ExxonMobil to focus on creating less emission by focusing on scope 1 and scope 2 instead of scope 3. This not only made a positive impact to ExxonMobil or to the oil and gas industry in America, but it made an entire positive impact to the oil and gas industry around the world. And this is why he became one of the most influential transformation leader as of today. And when you talk about the Cates leadership skills theory, Darren Woods developed his technical skills with his undergraduate and postgraduate studies that he developed in Australia and also in America, that which he specialized in chemical sciences, which gave him the technical skills that he requires to lead ExxonMobil, which is one of the giant leaders, market leaders in the oil and gas industry. But at the same time, the biggest technical skills that Mr. Darren Woods developed was through joining the industry, starting off his career as an analyst from the scratch and developing his way through to become the vice president of ExxonMobil by the year 2013. And eventually, he's right now the CEO of ExxonMobil. The learning curve through developing his career through working experience was the biggest success factor for him to develop his technical skills, which also developed his conceptual skills on how to handle situations creatively and innovatively to solve problems by his decision-making ability. But in terms of human skills, different people's perception around the world has contradicting opinions, where he says where some people says that Darren Wood's leadership style to handle his employees or the general public and public relationships was effective, but some people are in the opinion of it is not. But Mr. Darren Woods, from his own words, he says, ExxonMobil has been in the business for 135 years, and you wouldn't be successful if not for the human skills that he practices. But this is definitely something to debate upon. But when you talk about Mr. Darren Woods' leadership and how he adapted into these different leadership styles to address the ethical dilemma, we were able to understand through our research that Mr. Darren Wood adopts almost all these types of leadership to make his own way of leading and making an impact to his followers, starting off with his technical skills and then developing his conceptual skills and the human skills. He has developed his contingency leadership style and the transformation ability to become the pragmatic, sustainable, and a situational leader that he is today. But to discuss how he used this leadership model, his own leadership model, to address the ethical dilemma, I'd like to call upon my colleague, Nicholas.
So hello everyone, my name is Nicholas. First of all, I would like to thank Yishan. Now it's going to be my part, which is rational. So in this section, it analyzes the different kinds of leadership styles that were used in addressing the ethical dilemma of scope 3. So there are 5 different leadership styles that were found. First is transformational. So by managing to make Exxon to take a huge initiative towards global gas emission, Darren Woods display a transformational leadership style. He managed to influence his followers and create a pathway for the company to reduce gas emission. Secondly, he managed to display a willingness in support following its share and stakeholders' concerns by providing transparency and cooperation in accordance with the climate changes. As such, a supportive leadership is shown as he builds a healthy relationship with them. Supportive leadership styles plays a big role in addressing the dilemma, as employees will face challenges with the new goals. Leaders will then able to ensure employees are up to the task by providing the necessary resources, emotional support, creating effective communication, and building teamwork and collaboration. Third is transactional leadership. It demonstrates an exchange between leaders and their followers through a reward and punishment process. According to Woods, Exxon focuses on four fundamentals, which are integration, operational excellence, technology, and project execution. So the application of the transactional leadership styles can be seen as Exxon focuses on operational excellence and project execution, which created a clear goal and objective for the employee to achieve in return for rewards. As Exxon focuses on technology development for gas emissions, Woods will give rewards when a breakthrough or milestones are achieved. Fourth is contingency. So it suggests that different solutions require different situations requires different solutions. Hence, Darren Wood displays an application of contingency theory when he analyzed Exxon's supply chain and creates an alternative of implementing Scope 3, as it seems it won't be beneficial for the company's main goal and emission reduction. A primary example is when he made Exxon to focus on Scope 1 and 2 instead, which is through various investments of technology development and methane reduction. Moreover, he adjusted his approach in the dilemmas as he was able to monitor the operation and take in shareholders' opinion at the same time. Lastly, strategic leadership. It suggests that leaders should focus solely on the company, which was able to support the stakeholders' concern, but his main focus is still on the company. It can be seen when he managed to execute these dilemmas while creating a clear strategic objectives and vision for the company, hence putting the company's priority in first. As such, it displays a strategic leadership style, as Darren Woods was able to create a long-term vision and goal for the company. Moving on to the conclusion. So these are the key findings for our presentation. First is leader versus managers. So the distinct features are long-term versus short-term, motivating versus monitoring, visionary versus planner. However, both of them are acting as a role model. Second is the ethical dilemma that is found, which is the implementation of Scope 3 to ExxonMobil that is currently being faced by Darren Woods. So the ethical dilemma is that implementing Scope 3 will decrease Exxon's profit and give a burden to their customers. However, without the implementation, Exxon would continue to produce large amount of gas emissions and face the public criticism, thus ruining their brand reputation and image. Next is theoretical underpin. It discusses the leadership styles that can be found in Darren Woods compared to other leaders. Lastly, Darren Woods has used 5 different leadership styles to address the Scope 3 ethical dilemmas, including transformational, support, transactional, contingency, and strategic. Last is recommendation. So there are 3 recommendations on what could have been done differently by Darren Woods. First is acknowledging Scope 3 emission is a problem. It will help them to understand that not only the shareholders, but also the stakeholders concerned, such as the climate activists or even the government. Moreover, understanding the challenges that are being faced because of the climate change will help them to realize that it is a big problem. Ways that can this be done is by engaging and collaborating with international organizations such as IPCC or even the UN. In this approach, the degree of involvement should be increased by a lot. Second is to foster the partners with the importance of gas and emissions and climate changes, such as the suppliers. Thus, help them aware and think of ways that could be done to improve the efficiency in the supply chains, such as transport of goods. This will help to improve brand image and avoid future issues and criticism. The second recommendation is that Woods is good at conceptual and technical skills. However, he needs to focus more on the human skills as to how he communicates and engages with the public. Because currently some of the things that he contributes are right, but the way public sees it are different. Hence, if this are done properly, it will improve transparency, brand image, and healthy relations. Lastly is creating awareness about why Scope 1 and 2 are chosen, not 3. He could explain how far and how much he has made Exxon to contribute in reducing gas emissions and how it benefits the larger audience. This way, it will assure the public that Exxon has made its contribution, hence increasing brand image and transparency as well. Here are the reference lists that were used for the presentation. That is it for us. Thank you.